Good morning. Good morning. You know, that is not the great voice that I'm so used to hearing from the Harding Bulldogs. Good morning. Good morning. Ooh, that's much better. You know, Mr. Tocco is a very curious nature.
Can Nicole come with me?
And we have a brand new day today. It's a brand new, spectacular Tuesday. A great day for learning, for loving, for sharing, for being excited about life. Let me ask you a question. You've had 5 weeks to work on developing, maintaining a tremendous positive attitude. Let me ask you this morning, how do you feel? Terrific! Oh, with some feeling, how do you feel? Terrific! Woo, and getting better every second. Oh, now that I know you're feeling good, we can go forward. What is Mr. Tocco's #1 reason for being here? It is to encourage you to seek what the Greeks call
a great day.
Everybody together?
A great day.
Which means to become
The best possible you compared to no one else.
Compared to no one else. Before we go too far, you've noticed something different about this morning already, and I'd like to bring it directly to your attention. We have 2 very special guests here this morning. First of all, the senior member of the family, my dear grandfather, Mr. Joe Hayden. Would you please stand up? Let's give him some appreciation. Thanks, Graham. And also my dad, Don, in the back there. Yep, right here in Warren, Michigan. Grandpa used to come by almost every single weekend, right down Packard, past Peters, 2 houses on the right there, and come visit with me with Grandma. I'm pretty religious about that, eh, buddy? And we've been getting together every Sunday for the last 21 years. Of course, we're getting together more often now because Grandpa's living with me. So it's a pleasure to have him here and give him the chance to meet all of you young folks. Now be sure when you leave, be sure to shake hands with Grandpa.
All of them?
Now, now, another reason for my being here is to teach you some important knowledge about life. We learned a few weeks ago a very dynamic truth called the statement of wisdom. Let's see how good our memories are this morning. First comes a thought, which is followed by a word that leads to an action that develops a habit. Ooh, what happened to the habit? That forms a habit? Did we forget it forms a habit? Let's try it again. First comes a thought, which is followed by a word that leads to an action that forms a habit that develops a character which results in a destiny. That's right. That's exactly right. So we have our thoughts, we have our words, our actions, which form habits. Now what kind of habits do we want to form? What kind of habits together?
Go.
What kind of habits? Positive, good habits? Good habits, right? What give me some ideas of what some good habits might be? Because just 2 weeks ago, you talked about setting goals in certain areas. Give us some ideas of what some good habits would be. Yes. Don't do drugs. Outstanding. What else? Some good habits we can form. Things we should do, should not do. Yes. Excellent. Make more friends. Don't be mean to anybody. And don't be mean to animals. What else can we do? Don't drink alcohol. What are some good habits we can form? Things we should do and should not do. Yes, Chris.
Don't smoke.
Don't smoke. Outstanding. Look at this. What other good habits can we form? Remember we talked about 4 areas we can set goals? What were those areas?
School. Faith.
School. What else?
Faith.
School. The areas we set goals in just 2 weeks ago. School.
Church.
At home with our family. At church, which is spiritual, yes. Health. And what else? And friendships. That's right. That's right. Has everyone set at least one goal in each of those areas? Ooh, that's very good. Has anybody not set a goal in those areas? Teachers, do we see these young hands? Maybe we can help them set some goals in those areas. We're talking about having a positive life. Who will show us what a positive person looks like when they're walking down the street or walking down the hall. A character. Is it possible to tell the difference between somebody that is positive and somebody that's negative? Do you think it's positive? Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's possible to tell somebody when you see them walking down the street? What's one characteristic that a positive person might be wearing?
A suit.
On their face.
Oh,
On their face. Yes?
a smile.
A smile, absolutely. We'll show us what a positive person might look like walking down the street. Who'd like to do that? Show us what they would look like. Right down the center aisle here, a positive person. Look at him. Look at that. Yes, sir. Smile on his face with his head held. Let's give him some appreciation. Who will show us what a negative person might look like? Let's have this young man right here. Show us what a negative person, I mean really negative now. Really a negative person. Somebody going nowhere in life. Holy mackerel. Wow, look at that. Let's give him some appreciation. You know, he wouldn't get too far like that. He'd be running into something with his head down. Well, we've had 5 weeks together. And it's been a few weeks since we've had the opportunity to do something very important. And Mr. Tocco told you early on that your name is a very, very important thing to you. It's very important because it's how we recognize you. It's essentially who you are. And it's very important in life as we go through life that people come to recognize us by our name. And it's the way we say our name that really sets the stage so many times. So what I'd like you to do is I would like to have each table volunteer itself, not yet, to see which table is going to go first. I'd like you to get up and say your name. And remember, we want to say it with confidence. We want to say it with enthusiasm. We want to say it clearly and loudly because you never know who might be listening. It could be the gentleman in the back there who, if he hears your name, you never know, you might be called at a later date for some important honor. Maybe it's something that you say, and he wants to compliment you and remember you for what you said. But if he doesn't hear your name, it's not going to be possible. What table would like to go first? Whoa! Look at that dash for the honors. Let's start right down here. Here's the way we want to do it. Let's start right here. Let's do it quickly to remember the greatest respect that you can pay to another person is to listen while they're speaking. The greatest respect you can pay to a friend is to listen when they're speaking. So we shouldn't hear any other voice. But your friends who are saying their name, which is very important to them, so let's give them that respect. So we want to jump up and we want to say, with a strong start, my name is Don Tocco. Yeah? All right, let's go. Let's give it a try. Here we go. My name is. Okay, Mark. Good. Here we go. Jump up. Jump right up. Okay, say my name is, and then give us your name. Come on, Anthony. Jump right up. Okay, Anthony, but jump up and say my name is Anthony Telega. Here we go.
My name is Anthony.
Thanks, Anthony. Here we go. Gosh, you got so excited about how good Anthony did, he started to take the same name, didn't he? Okay, let's try it. Let's try it again. Here we go.
My name is Keith.
Okay, Keith, real good. Here we go. Okay, Shane.
My name is Adam.
Good, Adam.
My name is Rick.
Okay, Rick, that a boy.
My name is Scott Lane.
Oh, good, Scott. Good pause, pardon, punch. Here we go.
My name is Chad Lane.
Oh, good, Chad. Why don't we turn around and face that camera, though? Do it one more time, Chad.
My name is Chad Lane.
All right, here we go. What table is next? Who wants to be next? Whoa, this table here is next. Here we go. Right here. Jump right up. That a girl, Amber.
My name is Crystal Gonzalez.
Excellent, Crystal.
My name is Robert Evans.
Good, Robert. Good pause in there. Yes.
My name is
All right, Tony.
My name is Josh.
That a boy, Josh.
My name is Nick Cole.
That a boy, Nick.
My name is Michael Bates.
Hey, Michael.
My name is Thomas Ruspolowski.
Excellent, Thomas. Okay, the next table. Which is going to be the next table? Here we go, right here. Andy.
My name is Andrew Stephen.
That a boy, Andrew.
My name is
Turn around there. Look at that.
My name is Nathan Silvan.
Okay, Michael.
My name is Ronnie Thorne.
Okay, Ronnie.
My name is Tom Conster.
That a boy, Tom.
Do you know? My name is Christopher Nelson Crouch.
Okay, Christopher. Thank you.
My name is Melissa Marie Alexander.
Good, Melissa.
name is Tara Modell. My name is Nicole. My name is Andrew.
Okay, let's take our time now. Get that good pause part punching it. Here we go, right here. Okay, Angela.
My name is Mary Bissell.
Okay,
My name is Jennifer Mitchell.
thanks, Jen.
My name is Amber.
Ooh, did everybody hear that?
No.
Hold it.
No.
Ooh, your name is so important.
My name is Tracy Goodman.
Oh, it's so important. Let's stand up. Amber, let's stand up one more time. Let's everybody hear you.
My name is Amber Brown.
Good, Amber. That's really good. Okay.
My name is Tracy Goodman.
Thanks, Tracy.
My name is Crystal Young.
Hey, Crystal. Crystal. Okay.
I can hear.
Did everybody hear that?
I didn't hear that go.
Turn around there and tell everybody it's very important. Remember, you might be missing a great honor someday. You got to belt it out. Go ahead.
My name is Amber Positive.
Thanks, Amber. Okay. And this table, last but not least, here we go.
My name is Clark.
Whoa, look at that! You're so excited about doing it. They did it the same time. Okay, here, let's try it again.
My name is Courtney Wren.
Okay, Gordon.
My name is Cindy Webb.
Cindy. Okay. Yes.
My name is Amy Stevens.
Oh, jump right up, Amy. Jump right
My
up.
name is Amy Stevenson. My name is Tiffany Manica. My name is Jim Clark.
Attaboy, Jim.
My name is Christy Benjanini.
Okay, Kristen.
My name is Amy Nardi.
Okay.
My name is Natalie Lawrence. My name is Edith Crouch.
Let's give yourself some appreciation. Well, you know what? We see one thing here. I think we see one thing very clearly. It is not necessarily an easy thing to do, is it? And I'm sure that some of you are a little bit uncomfortable doing that. I remember when I was your age, I was uncomfortable getting up, standing up, saying my name. I was uncomfortable asking questions. Consequently, I went through a lot of years of school. I had a lot of questions that went unanswered because I was kind of embarrassed to stand up. There's only one way to overcome that sort of thing, and that's to practice it. And that's do it. Maybe the teachers, maybe you're good teachers, will have you occasionally, maybe once a week, just stand up and say your names instead of actually doing the attendance from your chair. You can actually stand up and practice saying your name. Because you never know when you may be in that college class or that boardroom or in an audience where somebody wants to talk to you because you've got something important to say, but they can't remember what your name was. We're talking about developing skills for living, ways to become more successful and happy in life. The first thing we have to have is a lot of desire, don't we? And it's seen by our enthusiasm. It's seen by our enthusiasm level. Who was the most enthusiastic person you've ever heard of? What was his name? He used to sell cars. Joe Girard. Everybody together? Joe Girard. What did Joe do every single day to get his enthusiasm level up? What did he do? He gave himself a what? Pep talk. A pep talk. And what pep talk did he give? He said, I feel good. I feel great. Look out, world. I'm coming out one more time. Yeah, he did. And guess what else happened to Joe? He was there every day selling cars. Every day. And he worked at his attitude every day to make sure it was positive and enthusiastic. And remember the story Mr. Tocco told you last week about R.U. Darby, who was digging for gold? Who remembers that story? Who remembers what happened in the end of that story? What happened in the end? Remember what happened in the end? Who knows what happened at the end of that story? He dug for gold, and then what happened? What happened?
He was almost down and they had big 3 feet and they hit it, but he still was not digging the gold.
That's right. They ran out, the gold mine seemed to, the gold vein seemed to have concluded itself, and he stopped digging. R.U. Darby stopped digging. And he sold his equipment to a junk man, and the junk man dug how far?
3 feet.
3, what a good memory they had. He dug only 3 feet and hit the Comstock lode, the wealthiest vein of gold in America at the time. He was only this far from tremendous wealth. And I ask you, what rule must you use every day to keep going forward, lest you be stuck only this far, or one door, are one key to your success. What's the word?
Enrichment.
Well, what's the word we talked about last week? Starts with a P. Everybody together? Oh, with some feeling.
Persistent.
Which means to keep on, keeping on. To keep on, keeping on. We set goals, we talked about goals. And the goals are the areas that are good things that we develop habits in so that we can achieve the things and experience the things in life that we would like to experience. We have to keep on keeping on. We have to continue to persist. Today, we're going to talk about something that is every bit as important as everything we talked about. Not with that pen. My young friends, nothing in life happens unless we are willing to take courageous action. 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 Courageous action. And why do we have to take courageous action about things? Such as standing up and saying our names? Such as raising our hand if we have a question? Because there's something down inside of us that is very debilitating. And it's called fear. How many know what fear is? How many have ever been afraid of anything in their life? Has anyone here ever not been afraid? You've never ever in your whole life had 1 ounce, 1 second of fear. You've never had a fear of anything. Well, my congratulations to you, 1 or 2. Fear seems to be something that we're born with. And some of it is good because it protects us from things called real danger. Some of it is bad because it stops us from doing things that we want to do, and we would like to do, and we should do. Let me give you an example of fear, false fear. When I was your age, one of my best friends, his name was Wally. And Wally was over at my house playing in the yard. And all of a sudden he looked up, he said, "Don," he said, "it's getting dark. And I'm afraid of the dark. I've got to go home now." I said, "Wally," and I could tell he was very, very scared. I said, "Wally," I said, "don't worry." I said, "I'll walk home with you." So I walked him home, all the way down Peters here, all the way down to Rivard. Who knows where Rivard is at? Well, it's way down there, isn't it? Oh. When I got to Wally's house, let me tell you, it was dark. And I looked around, I said, "Oh my gosh, I got to get going." Besides, my dad and my mom were expecting me for dinner. Boy, they didn't like me being late. So I headed home. You see, back then, what you didn't know was Motor City Theater used to be at 9 Mile and Van Dyke. And I used to go there every Saturday and watch the monster movies. Oh, I saw them all. Dracula, Frankenstein, Them, It Came from the Planet X, The Thing. I'm going to tell you something. There were some very scary things going on in the movies back then. So naturally, you know that monsters never come out during the day. Let me tell you, while I was walking home, it was pitch dark and I was scared, but then the real terror struck. And I'll tell you when it struck. It's when I got 1 block from the dreaded garage at Orchard and Peters. Right down here.
I live in Orchard.
And it was the garage on the corner. I'm sure it's long torn down. The roof was caving in, and the windows were bashed in, and there were weeds growing up all around the little garage. And I knew that it was in there. The thing, the creature. I knew it had to be in there, and it probably, with its bulging eyes, had been looking over the edge of the broken glass for months, watching my little red head go by. And just waiting for the right night for it to reach out with its long, slimy tentacles and claws and tear my head off, no doubt. Well, I was 9. It was dark. I was scared. So what did I do? As I walked down Peters, do you think I walked right by the garage like this? With confidence and a smile?
No.
Heavens, no! I went across the street where there was a field. And there were weeds about this high, and there were rats, and snakes, and spiders, and broken glass in that field. And I got down on my hands and knees, and I looked over at that garage to make sure that it wasn't going to slip out through the window, and I crawled very quietly all the way through that field, and then I jumped up and ran as fast as I could the rest of the way home. Because I was afraid. That is a false fear. You, being afraid, jump up and say your name in front of a group of people is a false fear. Because no one is going to hurt you. No one is going to laugh at you. So it is not a real fear. A real fear would be a speeding car in the hands of somebody drinking alcohol. A real fear would be you taking drugs. A real fear would be a gun, a loaded gun in somebody's hand. But to be afraid, to stand up, to ask a question, is not a real fear. So we have to understand and learn that there are things that we must overcome because they're not real, but they will still hold us back because of this fear that is inside. Christmas time came when I was 9, and I really wanted to make some money. I needed some money for Christmas gifts. So I was reading in the paper, and it said that if you will order these Christmas cards, you can get the Christmas cards and pay for them after you sell them. So I ordered them. Well, the Christmas cards came, and I was so excited about the possibility of making a few extra bucks that I took these Christmas cards, Grandpa. I had about maybe 6 boxes with me, and I headed out on one cold, early December morning. And I went down the street, and all of a sudden I looked up at this big house, and I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? And my heart started to beat faster because I was feeling afraid. But I thought, I can't sell these Christmas cards standing here on the corner, standing here on the street in front of this house. I'm going to have to go to the door. So I walked to the door. And my heart was pounding, but I knocked. And some lady came to the door. She opened up. She said, what do you want? Ooh. I said, would you like to buy some beautiful Christmas cards for Christmas? She said, no. Boy, how do you think I felt? Sad? What else? Mad? What else?
Happy.
What else?
Depressed.
Depressed? What else? Dejected?
Angry.
You think I was optimistic and excited? No, I just had a failure experience. But did I really fail?
No.
Actually, I succeeded because I went to the door. What do you think I did next? What do you think I did next?
You would. What's the next?
That's right, I went to the next door. Fellow opened the door. He said, yes, can I help you? I said, yes, sir. I said, would you like to buy some beautiful Christmas cards for the holiday coming in? He said, well, I need cards. How much are they? I said, $1. Oh, he said, that's fine. And he gave me the money. And I walked away from his house. How do you think I felt?
Happy.
Wow, I felt
You
terrific.
felt like you weren't failing anymore.
That's right, I felt like a success. What do you think I did next? I went to the next door, and you know what? And I did, you know what happened to the next door? They said no. And I went to the next door, and they said no. But I went to the next door, and they said yes. And you know what I found out? Every 5 houses, about on the average, somebody said yes. So I learned that I had to fail 4 times to succeed once. How about you? How about trying baseball, football, basketball, dancing, singing, a musical instrument, art, helping your mom and your dad, your teachers, homework, whatever it is. Whatever it is. You may have to not have a success experience a few times before you and I succeed. So we have to learn the difference between real fear and false fear. You see any resemblance between these two things here? Now let me tell you the story about this. One day I thought to myself, wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to do something with my hands? Paint, draw, sculpt. And I thought, no, forget that idea. Forget that. I've never had any classes. How in the world could I do anything without being trained? I probably don't have any talent, any skills, any ability. But something down inside said, you know what? Just try it. Just try it. Don't be afraid. So I invited Grandpa over. I said, Grandpa, I said, this is 15 years ago. I said, Grandpa, I said, come on by, we're going to do a little sculpt. I'd never done one. And in 4 hours, we were done. There it is. Not bad. Huh? Looks like I've done it. We have to try. We may fail. Once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times. But failure is never final, nor is success. Success nor failure is ever final. If we keep on keeping on, if we take courageous action, to keep on trying. I remember when I was invited to join the safety patrol here, I was in the 3rd grade. And boy, I thought, gosh, I remember seeing the captain of the safety patrol. He was a big guy, he was a football player. And I thought, gee whiz, I'm just a small little redheaded guy. I don't know if I could get out there and really stand on that corner and really, be there every day, make that kind of commitment. I was a little bit afraid to accept that opportunity. And I thought more about it. And I remember they used to wear, they still wear the white belts? They have orange belts now? Used to wear, our belts used to be white. Boy, they were sharp there. Boy, that guy stood on the corner, and you had to stop there and he'd make sure that you didn't run out in front of traffic. And I thought, it'd be kind of nice to do that, actually. It'd be an honor to do that. So I joined the safety patrol, and boy, I remember every week, on the weekend, I'd scrub that belt so it was nice and white and starched. So when I got out there on the corner, I stood proudly. And you know what? The next year I became the lieutenant of the safety patrol. And the next year I became captain of the safety patrol. And I was the guy in the 6th grade with the badge right here on that nice white belt with the blue paint on it, said captain. Wow, it felt good. And I was afraid in the beginning. And I remember one time my dad said to me, he had an old cornet that he used to play. And I took this cornet, and he took this cornet out of the box and he showed it to me. He said, what do you think about maybe playing this thing? I thought to myself, I could never do that. I could never play something like that. But I thought more about it. And I said, you know what, I'm going to take a chance. So I joined the band class, and I started playing the cornet. And when in the 6th grade, right down here in this gym, I played a solo in front of all the teachers and the adults on some kind of a PTA night. You talk about scared. You talk about scared. My mouth was so dry I could hardly pucker my lips to get that horn up there and play. But I got up and I played. And it was one more fear put behind. My young friends here at Harding, the fact is, as we go through life, we're going to have ideas. We're going to have some great ideas. We're going to have some lousy ideas. But what differentiates, what separates people who succeed in life is when they get an idea, which is a thought. Is it not a thought? First comes a thought, which is followed by a what?
Word.
Hang on 1 second. It's followed by a word. If that word is, yes, I'm going to try, then the action will be, any action will be good. And it will start us in a direction of forming some different and new kind of habits. So I say to you, or I ask you, the next time that you feel you have an idea, you want to try something, here at school? How about at home? You want to do something nice for your friends? Just do it. If you feel a little bit of fear, I want you to remember this class. I want you to say, this is a false fear. This is a false fear. Fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, fear of speaking, fear of crowds. These are false fears. This is a false fear.
Oh, that's bad.
Now, if you saw this in your dark room at night, looking in the window at you, it would scare the tar and feathers right out of you. It's even kind of ugly just looking at it, isn't it? Is this to be afraid of?
No.
Is this to be afraid of? Halloween, is there anything to be afraid of? No, there's nothing to be afraid of. This is just a mask. What's the fear are drugs, alcohol, smoking. What's the fear, my young friends, is not doing things for yourself that are good for you. Because what is the fear is that you may get through your whole life and never know what wonderful God-given talents, skills, and abilities that you have. And unless you try, unless you and I try, we will never know the potential we have. We'll never know the potential. How many are familiar with the simple turtle? I see a lot of animals around here. I don't see any turtles. How many know about the simple turtle? What does the turtle have to do before it goes anywhere? Who knows? What does a turtle usually do before he goes anywhere? What does a turtle do before he goes anywhere? You ever seen a turtle? What does he do? What does a turtle do? He walks slow. What does a turtle do before he goes anywhere? Who knows? You ever watch a turtle? Where's his head usually when he sleeps? Yeah, and then before he goes anywhere, what happens? He has to stick his what out? He has to stick his neck out. He has to stick his neck out. For us to go anywhere in life, we must learn how to stick our neck out. Be willing to take a chance. Be willing to take a risk. Let's not be afraid to stick our neck out. Let's not be afraid of false fears and making bad choices. When I was 21, I was in a class called the Dale Carnegie Leadership Course. And there was a young fellow in the class with me. His name was Tim Szymanski. And I was standing at the back of the class because I was involved in the training. And I was watching Tim give a talk that changed my life forever. And here's what happened. Tim said, when I was 17 years old, I was home and my mother and I were having a disagreement. And it turned into quite a bad argument. And we were yelling at each other. I don't know if you ever got in an argument with your mom or dad? Started yelling? I hope not, but Tim said he did. And he got so mad that he left the house, and when he left the house, he slammed the door, jumped in his car, started it, and took off down the street, and he peeled rubber. He was so mad. Well, 2 or 3 hours later, he got to thinking, boy, that wasn't really very nice, and he started feeling bad because, you know, his mother was so upset. But when he got home that night, the neighbors were on the lawn, and the lights were on, and he knew, he could feel that there was something wrong. He got out of his car, and the neighbor said, Tim, your mother has been rushed to the hospital. She's had a heart attack. And now he was really feeling terrible. And he told us he drove to the hospital, and she was in the intensive care room. And they wouldn't even let him in there. And he said he felt sick down inside because he kept thinking, boy, why did he leave the house and slam the door? Why did he have an argument with his mother? And then he started thinking why he couldn't remember the last time that he told his mother that he loved her. And that night he told us she passed away. And he said, I want to tell you, my friends, never leave anybody you love. Never leave anybody you love without telling them you love them, that you care about them. If you argue with them, tell them you're sorry. Hey, even if it was their fault. Because it's far better to go through what I've gone through for several years now. Well, you know what? I thought about that. And I realized that I was standing at the back of that class with tears in my eyes because I could never remember telling my mother that I loved her. So I decided the next time I saw her, I was going to tell her. And sure enough, she came over to my little apartment on 8 Mile in Dequindre, spent a little time, and she was leaving. In her hand, she was reaching for the door, and I said, Mom, I love you. And she looked back and she said, ditto. She couldn't tell me she loved me either because when I grew up, it wasn't something that you did. It wasn't something that you did. You didn't just openly tell people that you loved them. Well, I'll tell you what I learned from Tim Szymanski. You know what? I started telling my grandmother and my grandfather that I loved them. And that was about 20 years ago. And isn't it true, Grandpa? We tell each other almost every single day, Grandpa and I tell each other we love each other. We hug each other. And I tell my friends that I love them. And you know what? For some reason, it wasn't easy to do. Back then, when we first started. It's very easy to do now. I was afraid to do it then. Tim Szymanski was afraid to do it. My young friends, I say to you, open your hearts. Remove the false fears. Reach out to your family and to your friends. Tell them how you feel. Show them how you feel. Give them a handshake, a pat on the back. Give them a little hug. It has nothing to do with being macho. It has everything to do with being a good person. It'll help you overcome a lot of other fears. Stan, we've covered a lot of things with these young people. I'll tell you, it's amazing. It's amazing. They're such a good class. Let's make a list here, just so you have a list. I want you to tell me some real fears to have. What are some real fears? Give me some real fears, everybody. Things to be afraid of. Well, that's right. That's something that you can't do anything about that.
Smoking?
Smoking, okay, look at this. Smoking. Give me some real fears, some things you should actually really be concerned about.
Drugs.
Drugs, smoking, good. What else? Well, you see, you can't do anything about that. Somebody said, I told you guys when I first started that one of my first fears was my parents would get a divorce, and that happened. I was afraid of it, but it happened. There was nothing I could do about it. I told you that I was afraid of my grandmother passing, you know, and there was nothing we could do about it. It's very sad, but there's nothing you could do about it. So you waste your time on fears like that, you are simply wasting your time, unfortunately. Let's talk about real fears, things you should really be concerned about. I'll tell you what, a real fear, you should be afraid of getting poor grades. That's not a good motivator, but you should be afraid of that. Poor grades is a real fear because, you know what? In life, we get paid for what we know. If we get poor grades, we demonstrated we don't know much. What else could be a real fear?
Like if you don't stay healthy.
Very good. You don't stay healthy. Poor health. Poor health is a real fear. And who controls your health? That's right. That is correct. Yes. What's another real fear?
The environment.
That's right. That's right. We have to. That's right. Our environment. If we don't care for our environment, we can pollute. Well, that's very good. I'm not sure how to put that down, but that's a very good one. That's a real concern. I don't know if I would call it a fear. I would say our environment is a real concern. I don't think it's anything to fear yet. Yes.
Drinking.
Drinking. Drinking. That's good. Drinking alcohol. Drinking alcohol. My young friends, over 50,000 people die every year because of drinking-related accidents, alcohol. Over another 150,000 people are maimed, crippled, and injured severely from car accidents. That is a very real fear. Besides that, alcohol kills 100,000 brain cells every time you have a drink. If that doesn't scare you, nothing ever will. What else is a real fear, Emma? Fighting. Fighting, that's good, honey. You should be afraid of fighting. There's no need to fight. There's no need to fight. Unless you put on boxing gloves. Okay, any other real fears? I mean real fears. How about a loaded gun?
AIDS.
Well, that's health disease, AIDS, that's a real fear. That's right, very good. What else? Well, you have to be careful. You know, it's unfortunate because, you know, people, there's a lot of people who love people. Mr. Tocco likes to walk down the street and say hello to everybody. You know, and it's unfortunate because sometimes I do that and I see people, I see kids that are afraid because they don't know who I am, right? So it's unfortunate, but you do have to be, you have to be careful of people that you don't know. You have to watch out and just be smart. Just be smart, yes. Yes, honey, that's right. But you know, I mean, you know, you can't, it's a fear, it's something you have to be careful for, you know? It's not something to really be fearful of because you can't do anything about it, you know, you have to be careful. So these are real fears. But let's look at some false fears. Let's look at some false fears. Okay, give me some false fears. Yes. Yes, very good. Being scared of something under your bed. It's basically all that's underneath there's a little dust, right? Being scared of imaginary things. Now this is very big. This fits a lot of items. I want you to think. What did Dr. Albert Schweitzer say is the single most important thing a young person can learn to do for themselves? Who remembers that? Dr. Albert Schweitzer, the great humanitarian, said the most important thing a young person can do for themselves is what?
Think.
Right.
Choose.
Think. The most important thing a young person can learn to do for themselves is to think. Now look at this. Look right here. Being scared of imaginary things. If you think about that, you'll come up with so many things that'll be unbelievable. Being scared of walking into your room in the dark because of something that might be under the bed. We've all done it, so I understand it. That doesn't mean you're not going to have a little bit of concern, but you see, the next time you are faced with some kind of a fear, whatever it is, I want you to ask yourself, is this real? Is this real? Is this, that thing I'm afraid of, is this drugs? Is it alcohol? Is it smoking? Is it a loaded gun? Is it fighting? Is it poor health? What is it I'm afraid of? Is it a real fear? If it's not, then I want you to ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Is it imaginary? Is it imaginary? Is it really an opportunity wrapped around fear? Maybe it's a great opportunity. 8 months ago, I was invited to Mexico. Remember I told you last week I was invited to Mexico to speak at an international congress with 1,200 people in attendance. I was invited yesterday back to Mexico to speak at a national conference for youth with 2,500 people. So what's the difference? Whether there's 10 people, whether there's 250, 1,200, 2,500, 25,000, what's the difference? It's an opportunity. If I was afraid, then I would say, oh no. Now what would I have missed if I would have said no to an opportunity to go to Mexico? I'd have missed the first-class plane ride down to Mexico. I'd have missed seeing the beautiful city of Monterrey. I would have missed meeting dozens and dozens of wonderful people. I'd have missed some phenomenal Mexican meals and some Mexican dancing, which we did at a couple of nights. I'd have missed meeting just some great people and having a tremendous experience if I would have let fear stop me. So I want you to remember, the next time you have an opportunity, the next time you get an idea, the next time you want to set a goal, the next time you have a dream, I want you to hold on to that dream and say, how can I make it happen? How can I go forward and make it happen? Listen to this. Listen to what Teddy Roosevelt said. Who knows who Teddy Roosevelt was? Who was Teddy Roosevelt? Who was he? He was a president of the United States of America. A very famous president, because Teddy Roosevelt was known as a fearless man. Remember Teddy Roosevelt? Here's what he said. A president of the United States said this. He said, far better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered with failure, than to rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much, because they live in the great twilight that knows not victory or defeat. Because they live in the great twilight that knows not victory or defeat. Because of fear, they hold themselves back, and they never win a glorious triumph. My young friends here at Harding, the Bulldogs, we always were, we always will be. I want you to get out there and take courageous together. Action together. Action. Everybody together. Action. 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 Next time you feel fear, next time you feel lethargic, I want you to say, I got to do this because it's the right thing to do. It's my way of starting a successful and happy and meaningful life. Well, as always, you have been absolutely phenomenal. Let's do ourselves a warm-up here. Everybody stand. Since we're talking about courage, let's do the lion warm-up. I'm big. Everybody, I'm big. I'm strong. I'm king of the beast. Let's do it one more time with some feeling. Here we go. I'm big. I'm strong. I'm king of the beast. Let's go out and have a great day. Act courageously. Next week. That's right, we did the joke. We got to do a joke next week. Where are the posters, Mr. Kubicki?
I am 6 short of having completed as soon as